Why self-taught women rule the world. There is a quiet power moving through the world, a force that cannot be contained by classrooms, titles, or permission. It is the power of the self-taught woman. She does not wait to be chosen, for she has already chosen herself. She does not wait for doors to open, for she knows she carries the key within her own mind. The self-taught woman understands a divine truth, that all wisdom already exists within, waiting to be called forth. She listens not only to the voices of the world, but to the still, certain voice inside her, and when she follows that voice, she is guided unfailingly to knowledge, opportunity, and success. She is not limited by what she was not given. She creates from what she claims, she studies what she desires, learns what she needs, and grows beyond every boundary that once tried to define her. Where others see lack, she sees possibility. Where others wait for instruction, she acts with faith. The self-taught woman moves with certainty because she trusts the unseen. She knows that every idea impressed upon her mind is a seed of destiny. She waters it with belief, nourishes it with action, and releases all doubt. In doing so, she aligns herself with a greater intelligence that never fails. She is fearless. In her becoming, she does not fear mistakes, for she knows they are stepping stones arranged by a higher order. Every setback becomes her teacher, every challenge her refinement. She rises again and again, each time stronger, wiser, and more radiant in her purpose. This woman does not compete. She creates. She does not chase. She attracts. For she understands that what she seeks is also seeking her. Her confidence is not loud, yet it is unshakable. It is rooted in the knowing that she is guided, protected, and infinitely capable. And so, she rules not by force, but by alignment. Not by control, but by clarity. She rules her thoughts, her emotions, her actions, and therefore her world responds in kind. Life mirrors her inner state, and she chooses abundance, wisdom, and power. The self-taught woman is a reminder that no authority is greater than the awakened mind. She proves that when a woman decides to learn, to grow, and to trust herself completely, nothing can stand in her way. She is not waiting for the world to change. She is the one changing it. She chooses herself in a world that often teaches her to wait, to seek approval, to measure her worth through the eyes of others. Yet she quietly refuses this illusion and turns inward, where a deeper authority lives. A calm and unwavering voice that knows her path before it appears. And she begins to trust this voice, not as a guess, not as a wish, but as truth itself, guiding her step by step into the life that is already prepared for her. She understands that to choose herself is not arrogance, but alignment, not rebellion, but remembrance. For she is not claiming something owed to her. She is simply accepting what has always belonged to her. And in that acceptance, her energy shifts, her posture changes, her decisions become clear and deliberate, no longer shaped by fear or hesitation, but by a quiet certainty that cannot be shaken. She no longer asks, "Am I allowed?" but declares within, "It is already mine." And this inner declaration begins to rearrange her outer world in subtle and powerful ways. Opportunities appear where there were none, answers come when she needs them, and the right people cross her path as if drawn by an unseen hand, because she has aligned herself with a higher law that responds not to doubt, but to belief. She does not wait for someone to validate her ideas. She validates them by acting upon them, trusting that every inspired thought is planted within her for a reason, and that by following it she is cooperating with a greater intelligence that never makes mistakes. There is a sacred confidence in her, not loud or boastful, but steady and luminous. A confidence born from the knowing that she is guided from within, and she guards this knowing carefully, refusing to let the noise of the world drown it out, for she understands that doubt is only the echo of fear, and fear has no creative power unless she gives it one. So she withdraws her attention from limitation and places it firmly upon possibility, seeing herself not as she has been told she is, but as she chooses to be. And this vision becomes her reality through the unwavering focus of her mind. She trusts the process of her unfolding, even when the path is not fully visible, even when others question her choices, even when circumstances seem uncertain, because she knows that clarity is not always given at the beginning. It reveals itself to those who keep moving forward in faith, and she moves with that faith, step by step, allowing each action to lead her to the next, never forcing, never doubting, simply knowing that she is exactly where she needs to be. She does not compare her journey to another's, for she realizes that comparison is a distraction from her own divine assignment, and she is far too focused on her own path to be concerned with someone else's pace. In choosing herself, she releases the need to please everyone, understanding that her purpose is not to fit into expectations, but to express her truth fully and freely. And this freedom becomes her power, allowing her to think differently, act boldly, and create without restriction. She is no longer bound by the opinions of others because she has discovered a greater authority within, one that speaks with clarity and certainty. And once she begins to trust it, she finds that it never leads her astray. Every decision she makes from this place strengthens her trust even more, creating a cycle of confidence that builds upon itself, making her unstoppable in her growth. She learns to listen in stillness, to recognize the difference between fear and intuition, to feel the quiet pull of what is right for her, and to follow it without hesitation, knowing that hesitation only delays what is already meant for her. She understands that time is not her enemy, that everything unfolds at the perfect moment, and that by trusting herself, she aligns with that perfect timing effortlessly. She no longer rushes, no longer forces outcomes. She simply moves with intention and allows the results to come. Knowing that what is truly hers cannot be missed, there is a deep sense of peace in her, even as she grows, even as she stretches beyond her comfort zone, because she knows that she is supported by something greater than circumstances, something that responds to her belief and rewards her courage. She sees challenges not as obstacles but as confirmations that she is expanding, that she is stepping into a larger version of herself. And she welcomes them with a calm assurance, knowing that every challenge carries within it the seed of her next level. She speaks to herself with kindness and authority, choosing words that uplift and empower, for she knows that her words shape her reality, and she refuses to speak anything that contradicts her desired life. She affirms her worth, her capability, her success, not as empty phrases, but as truths that she claims and embodies. And these truths begin to manifest in tangible ways, reflecting back to her the power of her own belief. She walks through the world with a quiet magnetism, not seeking attention, but naturally drawing it, because there is something undeniable about a woman who trusts herself completely, something that others can feel even if they cannot explain it. And this presence opens doors, builds connections, and creates opportunities that seem effortless, yet are the result of her deep inner alignment. She does not chase success. She becomes the version of herself to whom success is drawn. And in doing so, she changes the very nature of how life responds to her. She learns without limits because she refuses to believe that knowledge is reserved for the chosen few. She understands that wisdom is not locked behind institutions or titles, but is freely available to the mind that seeks it with faith and determination. And so she opens herself to learning in every form, from every experience, from every challenge, from every moment that invites her to grow beyond who she was yesterday. She does not wait for perfect conditions to begin. She begins where she is, with what she has, trusting that each step forward reveals the next, and this trust becomes her greatest teacher, guiding her into deeper understanding and greater awareness. She approaches learning not as a burden but as a privilege, a sacred expansion of her own consciousness, and she delights in the discovery of new ideas, new skills, new perspectives that elevate her thinking and refine her actions, knowing that every piece of knowledge she gains is a tool that can be transformed into power when applied with intention. She is not intimidated by what she does not know. She is inspired by it, seeing it as an invitation rather than a limitation. And this perspective allows her to move forward with curiosity instead of fear. Her mind becomes her greatest asset, not because it holds information, but because it knows how to use it. She understands that knowledge alone is not enough. It must be activated through belief and action. And so she takes what she learns and brings it into her reality, testing it, shaping it, refining it, until it becomes part of who she is. She does not consume information passively. She engages with it, questions it, applies it, and in doing so, she transforms knowledge into wisdom, and wisdom into power. She creates her own curriculum, guided not by external expectations, but by her inner calling, learning what aligns with her purpose, what fuels her vision, what expands her capacity to create the life she desires. And this self-directed path gives her a unique strength because she is not following a predetermined route. She is designing her own, and every lesson she learns is directly connected to her growth and her goals. She does not measure her progress by traditional standards. She measures it by her own expansion, by the clarity of her thinking, by the confidence of her actions. She understands that repetition is not failure, but mastery in motion. And so, she practices, refines, and revisits what she learns without frustration, knowing that each repetition deepens her understanding and strengthens her ability. She is patient with her growth, yet persistent in her efforts, never allowing temporary difficulty to convince her that she is incapable, because she knows that capability is built, not given. She embraces the process fully, trusting that every effort she makes is building something greater within her. She turns obstacles into classrooms, seeing every challenge as a lesson designed to expand her awareness. And instead of resisting difficulty, she leans into it, asking what it is here to teach her. And in this way, she extracts value from every experience, transforming setbacks into stepping stones that elevate her further along her path. She does not waste energy on regret. She converts every experience into insight and every insight into growth. She surrounds herself with knowledge in all forms: books, conversations, observations, experiences. Understanding that learning is not confined to a single source but flows through everything around her, and she remains open to receiving it, always aware, always present, always ready to absorb what will serve her highest evolution. She listens deeply, observes carefully, and reflects thoughtfully, allowing what she learns to settle within her and shape her perspective in meaningful ways. She trusts her ability to understand even the most complex ideas because she knows that the mind expands to meet what it is given, and she refuses to label anything as too difficult or beyond her. Instead, she approaches it with patience and belief, breaking it down, exploring it, and allowing clarity to unfold naturally. And this approach dissolves limitations that once seemed real, opening her to levels of understanding she may have once doubted she could reach. She recognizes that true power lies not in knowing everything, but in knowing how to learn anything. And this realization frees her from the fear of the unknown, because she knows that no matter what she faces, she has the ability to figure it out, to adapt, to grow, to rise to the occasion with intelligence and confidence. She becomes resourceful, creative, and resilient, capable of navigating any situation because she trusts in her own ability to acquire the knowledge she needs. She honors her growth by applying what she learns, turning ideas into action and action into results, understanding that knowledge unused is energy wasted. And so she moves, she creates, she builds, allowing her learning to take form in the world around her. And as she does, she sees the tangible evidence of her own power. Reinforcing her belief in herself and her abilities, she does not wait until she feels ready. She acts and becomes ready through action. She evolves continuously, never becoming stagnant, never settling into complacency, always seeking the next level of her own expansion. And this constant growth keeps her aligned with opportunity, because she is always prepared for what comes next, always ready to step into greater responsibility, greater influence, greater success. She understands that growth is a lifelong journey, and she embraces it fully, knowing that there is no limit to what she can become when she continues to learn, to apply, and to believe in her own capacity to rise. She aligns her mind with success by first understanding that success is not something she chases in the outer world, but something she creates within, a state of consciousness that must be claimed before it can be seen. And so she turns her attention inward, shaping her thoughts with intention, choosing beliefs that support her rise rather than limit it, and in doing so, she begins to form a mental environment where success feels natural, expected, and inevitable. She no longer entertains thoughts of lack or unworthiness, for she recognizes them as illusions that dissolve the moment she withdraws her belief from them. And instead, she fills her mind with images of achievement, abundance, and expansion. Allowing these images to take root and grow into her lived reality, she becomes disciplined in her thinking, aware that every thought carries creative power, and she refuses to let her mind wander into doubt or fear, gently but firmly redirecting it towards certainty and possibility, knowing that what she consistently thinks about must eventually take form. She does not argue with negativity. She replaces it, understanding that the mind responds not to resistance but to substitution. And so she consciously chooses thoughts that align with the life she desires, repeating them, feeling them, believing them until they become her dominant reality. She sees herself as already successful, not in arrogance, but in alignment, for she understands that the outer world is only a reflection of the inner state. And by embodying success within, she calls it forth without struggle. She walks, speaks, and acts from this inner identity, making decisions that reflect her elevated self rather than her past limitations. And each decision reinforces her new reality, building momentum that carries her forward with ease. She does not wait for proof before she believes. She believes and allows the proof to appear. Her emotions become her allies, not her obstacles, as she learns to feel the frequency of success before it arrives, cultivating gratitude, confidence, and certainty in advance. And these emotions send a clear signal to the unseen forces that respond to her state of being. She understands that feeling is the secret, that what she feels deeply impresses itself upon her reality, and so she practices feeling fulfilled, accomplished, and abundant, regardless of current appearances, trusting that her emotional alignment is shaping what is to come. She releases attachment to how and when her success will manifest, knowing that control is not her role, alignment is. And so she focuses on maintaining her inner state while allowing the outer world to arrange itself accordingly. She does not become anxious over timing. She remains steady in her belief, Understanding that everything unfolds in perfect order when she holds her vision without wavering, she trusts that what is meant for her cannot be delayed or denied when she remains aligned with it. She speaks success into existence through her words, choosing language that affirms her power, her progress, and her inevitable rise. And she avoids speaking of struggle or limitation, for she knows that words are commands that shape her experience. She declares her intentions with confidence, not as wishes but as realities in motion, and these declarations strengthen her alignment, reinforcing the mental and emotional patterns that bring success into form. She becomes selective with what she allows into her mind, guarding her thoughts from influences that contradict her vision, whether they come from people, environments, or information. And she consciously surrounds herself with ideas, energy, and perspectives that elevate her, that remind her of what is possible, that support her expansion rather than diminish it. She understands that her mind is sacred ground and she treats it as such, allowing only what serves her highest outcome to take root. She acts in harmony with her beliefs, knowing that alignment is not only mental and emotional, but also behavioral. And so she takes steps that reflect her confidence, her clarity, her commitment to her vision. Even when those steps feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar, she moves forward with courage, trusting that action taken in alignment will always lead her closer to her desired reality. And each action becomes proof of her belief in herself. She transforms challenges into confirmations of her alignment, seeing them not as signs of failure but as opportunities to strengthen her belief, to deepen her trust, to refine her focus. And she meets them with a calm assurance that everything is working in her favor. She does not allow temporary appearances to shake her, for she knows that persistence and alignment will always produce results. And so she remains steady, unwavering, anchored in her inner knowing. She becomes a magnet for opportunity, not through force, but through resonance, as her aligned state begins to attract circumstances, people, and experiences that match her frequency. And what once seemed difficult begins to flow with ease. What once required effort begins to unfold naturally, because she is no longer operating from resistance, but from harmony. She recognizes these opportunities as reflections of her own alignment, and receives them with confidence and gratitude.